Shalom everyone, and today we're going to study Parashat Koraḥ. Parashat Koraḥ is on the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 16, verse 1. And it starts with ויקח קורח, בן יצהר, בן קהת, בן לוי, ודתן ואבירם, בני אליאב, ואון בן פלט, בני ראובן. Okay? There is a problem to translate this weird sentence because it's very important the way it's being written. Because the way it's written, it's Vayikach Koraḥ, which means and Koraḥ took. But in Hebrew, the word and he took comes before Vayikach and he took Koraḥ. And the moment we have that word starting the Parasha, we already know the problem. We said many times there is a saying that we try to explain according to Kabbalah ideas, concepts, that you should always start with the right foot, which means whenever you make a decision, you start a business, you do anything in this world, you have to start with the right foot, which means you have to think what value you are going to give to the world. And that's called the right foot, which means you're stepping with the right foot first, and the right means giving, sharing, giving benefit, value to someone else. So, but what happens if you start with the left foot? So that's an omen of bad luck, bad fortune. And why is that an omen for bad fortune? Because if you start with taking and not with giving, you are going against the rules of the universe. And here in the first word, we already have the problem, because the story of Koraḥ, if you read the background of the story, Koraḥ was a cousin of Moses and Aaron. Okay, he was a very prominent person. He was one of the richest people in the world. He was wise like no one else except for Moses and Aaron. He had a lot of attributes that he really was sure that he is supposed to get a very important job in the government. Remember, we have a nation of we have 600,000 men from the age of 20 to the age of 60. Okay, so we have the similar number of women. So that's 1.2 million. How many kids? Could be another million. Okay, so, and how many old people? So you have already more than 2.5 million people. That's a nation. Moses is basically the CEO of the nation. He's like the king, although he doesn't behave as a king, but he's the leader. Aaron is the priest. So we have over here kind of a government. And also we read in Parashat Baalotcha how the Sanhedrin was appointed. Everybody, 70 people, got the Holy Spirit and prophecy from God so they could help Moses and Aaron to lead the nation. And then there was a time to elect, to appoint someone to be the head of the tribe of Levi. And somebody else was appointed, and Koraḥ, who was sure that that's his job, was really upset. That's a simple story. Okay? The name of the cousin that got the presidency of the tribe of Levi was Elitzaphan ben Uziel, if somebody thinks it's important. Okay? So now, the question is that Koraḥ, and it says also his wife, were kind of upset because they had expectations. And we know that it's not the problem of the upset, because that's a big problem. It's a big issue. And we're not supposed to really have expectations, because who's the one who's giving? Who's the great giver? The Creator. So if someone else got it, it's theirs. If I got it, it's mine. Okay, no mistakes in the program that is running this world. However, if you want to accelerate your uh, success, your growth, your whatever, your place in the world, you have to remember that you have to function according to the rules of this universe. And since the beginning, since the Big Bang and before, which means the Tzimtzum, the contraction, in which all the vessels, all our souls, shut down the flow of light and created that dark space which we live in. Why this space is dark? So we can feel that whenever we elevate ourselves, this is our achievement, nobody's gift. This is a very important thing. Why? Just to remind the people that are not aware of it, in the beginning, when the Creator created everything, the first thing in the creation, the cornerstone of the creation, is to create what we know as the souls. What is the soul? The major issue about the soul is the desire to receive. Why? Since the Creator is the great giver, he cannot be a giver if there's no one who receives. He cannot be a giver if there's nobody who enjoys what you're giving him. So we were created with that tendency, with that nature, that we must receive, we must achieve. However, when he created us with all his might, which is infinite, and he gave us all of himself. And the result is that what we read in Genesis chapter 1, that God created us in his image. Of course, God has no image. He's endless. Okay? The real creator of the universe, that we cannot even call him God, it's the essence of the creator, has no image whatsoever. So, but when he gave everything, so he gave us himself, and that's how we got his image. Now, we're not talking about the physical image because that's finite and is infinite. So we have only another image, which is the mental image. And we learn many, many times that if we want to connect to the image of God within each one of us, we need to remember to activate three aspects. Of course, there's more to it, but to make it simple, one aspect is independence. God is independence. He does not need anyone for his own benefit. He does not need it. Which means, what's the problem when we have expectations? We develop dependency. We develop dependency in the person who was supposed to give us what we were dreaming about. Or if you understand that issue, this is an addiction. Because the moment we are convinced that our happiness is dependent on somebody else's decisions, we are in a big, big problems. We're not independent. We're not in the image of God. And that leads always to trouble. Why? We came to this world in order to learn how to be independent. So that's why, if you look around at relationships, people that you know, research that you've read, people who are addicted to, doesn't matter what, addiction, dependency is a very strong guarantee of unhappiness. Why? Because we are not in the image of God when we find ourselves in a situation that we agree to be dependent on somebody else's decisions, actions, and so on. That's very hard. But for thousands of years, we come to this world and we reincarnate again and again and again till we remember not to be dependent on anything. So that's the first aspect, independence. The second aspect is creativity. God is creative. You look at this universe, it is amazingly creative beyond any logical sense. It's so beautiful. When it's very hard to find happy, lazy people. In order to be connected to the image of God within us, as it says in chapter 1 in Genesis, we need to be creative. We cannot be lazy. We cannot blame the whole world for because we can't do that because of somebody else. That dependency and laziness. And it's not about laziness, like it's not about when we give ourselves an excuse, why is it that we are not creative with what we've got? And I learned for many, 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 many years that when you want to be creative, look around, it's all around you, all the materials and the opportunities. You don't have to go very far away. There's a story, an old Hasidic story. It has many versions, but the story is about this guy. He lived in an area that is east of Poland, and he had a dream that in the big palace of the emperor, the great king in Vienna, the king of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, under the bridge leading to the palace, there is a big treasure. So he gets some money, he gets some loans, he was very poor, and he takes the train and so on. He finally reaches Vienna, and he comes to the bridge leading to the palace, exactly the way he saw it in his dream. So he wants to go and dig, but of course there's a guard. There's a guard 24/7 watching the bridge. So he was coming to visit the bridge and to see the guard. He thought maybe there's a time, maybe early morning, that they're going to sleep. No, 24/7, they just replace each other, and there's always somebody. So what he's going to do? He cannot go under the bridge and dig because they're going to shoot him or arrest him. So he starts to get friendly with the commander of the guard. And he brings him a cake and he brings him something nice and he talks to him and so on. And after a while, when they're really becoming friends, he says, look, I want to tell you something. I want to share. I want partnership. I had a dream, a very vivid dream. And the dream was that under the bridge here in Vienna, the bridge that you are the guard, you're the commander of the guard, under the bridge there is a treasure. And let us dig. I'll show you where I saw it. And we can share it. We can part it like half and half. So the guard, the commander of the guard said, you know, dreams are nonsense. You know, I'll tell you something. I had a dream too. Last night. What a coincidence. In that dream, I saw the house of a poor Jew in eastern Poland, and his name is so and so, and under his fireplace there's a treasure. You know, I don't know the person, never heard about him. You know, it's like, what a nonsense, what a nonsense. So the guy is listening to the commander of the guard. He says, just a second. The guy said my name. He didn't know my name. He said my name, he said it's my house. He gave a real description of my house in his dream and my fireplace. So he went right away home and he dug under his fireplace and he found a treasure. Okay? Later on, the commander was bothered with that dream that he had. And he remembered the dream that that Jewish guy told him. And finally, he decided to dig under the bridge leading to the palace. And he finds the treasure. Okay? What is the message? That you don't have to travel that far because whatever you're looking for is just in front of you. And you just have, first of all, to get the best out of the opportunities presented to you. And we spoke about it a lot in the last week's Parasha, Parashat Shlach Lecha, in which we said that every moment in our life, the Creator is presenting us with an opportunity that relatively to us, this is our promised land. Now, if we're going to find all the reasons why not to do it, because it's hard, because it's hot, because it's cold, because it's that, because it's that, okay, we're missing our achievement, greatest achievement in life, because whatever the Creator is presenting in front of us, that is what we need to do, to achieve, and to realize. And so charge and just do it with all your might. And there are many, many, many verses talking about it. Kol ma shebiadcha la'asot bekochacha aseh. That's from Proverbs, King Solomon. Whatever you have in front of you to do, just do it with your might because you have it. So Koraḥ, although he was one of the wisest, knowledgeable people among all the Israelites, although he was the richest person among all the Israelites, although he was raised with this family of Aaron and Miriam, Moses was not home, but he was raised for greatness, and he messed his life terribly because, very important thing, the third aspect in being a creator is giving. So the moment you start with Vayikach, and he took, there's a problem. You start with the left foot, you start with what do I get, and you forget all the rules of the universe. And if Koraḥ did that, nobody's immune. Because here we are being told about somebody who was, as we said, the creme de la creme of the Israelite nation. Moses' cousin, on his own, he was the richest person, he was one of the wisest people, and he failed because the moment he fell into his jealousy in Elizaphan ben Uziel, that was it. He had expectations. He did not fight that problem with himself. The result that he started to create a mutiny. And how do we see that? That he, when he came to Moses to rebel, he took his neighbors, which were from the tribe of Reuben, and the tribe of Reuben, we know, Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob. He was the firstborn of Jacob, the first of all tribes. And the firstborn in the ancient world had the birthright, he had the kingdom, and he had the inheritance. So that is a very powerful thing. Reuben did not get anything. Okay, so we had among the tribe of Reuben a lot of people that were kind of upset, and they were trying because they had expectations too. We are the firstborn. Reuben should get a lot of respect, honor, and parts in the government. So, verse 2, ויקומו לפני משה ואנשים מבני ישראל 50 נשיאי עדה, קריאי מועד אנשי שם. So they got up, they rose in front of Moses, and other people from the children of Israel had 250 leaders of the congregation, people of good name. We are talking about, again, la creme de la creme, the best, the elite of the Israelite nation. And all of them came and said, why didn't we get? Why can't we have the let's say, the kehuna, the priesthood, as, few years Aaron, few years Koraḥ, few years somebody from the tribe of Reuben? Why? Why we can't do that? And they say the words, verse 3, ויקהלו על משה ועל אהרון, and they gathered upon Moses and Aaron, ויאמרו עליהם, רב לכם, you got enough, you have enough honor, respect, power. Why are you patronizing everybody else? Everybody is equal, everybody is holy. That's a great idea. It's a truthful idea. Okay? וישמע משה, verse 4, ויפול על פניו. Moses heard and he fell over his face. He gets up, verse 5, וידבר אל קורח ואל כל עדתו, and he speaks to Korach and all the people that came with him. לאמור בוקר ויודע אדוני את אשר לו ואת הקדוש. The morning, tomorrow morning, but he doesn't say tomorrow, it says morning. Why morning? Because that's a very powerful symbol in the Torah. When Abraham is going to bind Isaac, what's the first thing? Vayashkem Avraham baboker. And Abraham got up early in the morning. Why? Because his deal was to show how the right column, the power of giving, is more powerful than all the other forces. Okay? Is more dominant than all other forces. So that's why Abram rose early in the morning. So finally, when he comes to Mount Moriah and he binds Isaac as the right column, the power of sharing, the power of loving, the power of caring, the power of giving will override the power of judgment, negativity, and desire. Okay, why is it like this? And the answer is as follows. We were created, we have to remember that. We were created to receive. That's our calling. We are here to receive God's light. The problem is that we received all of it already in the beginning. So why did we stay there? Because we wanted to create that receiving on our own. How? By being independent, by being creative, and by being giving creatures. So the rule is that when we are focusing on our own desire to receive for the self alone, we're basically disconnecting ourselves from God's tree of life system. Because the rule of affinity says that similarities attract. So the moment we are selfish, the moment we are thinking first about what am I getting and who cares about the rest, instead of what I'm giving. He did not come, Koraḥ, with what is the value I can give to the nation. He came with a real deep lust for power, for fame, okay? And that makes us all blind. The moment we start with the left foot, the moment we start with our desires first, instead of, just a second, we need to desire. We were created for that purpose. However, we cannot receive greatness, happiness, whatever, good fortune, whatever is good and pleasurable, we cannot receive unless we create a position in which we're independent, it's no dependency, we are creative, and we are giving creatures. Therefore, whenever we find ourselves attacked, that's the hardest thing humans have. We are coming to this world to learn how to do that fight. The moment we find ourselves under the attack of our cravings and desires, which means if we allow that, we become so blind, and the result is always disastrous. Why? Separating yourself away from the tree of life. What is the result? The result is always the wrong perception of reality. The result is always jealousy, anger, hate, envy. All of those emotions are very disastrous because they cannot connect us to the tree of life. They cannot deliver anything good. We look at the history of humanity and we find it in so many places. People who had the promise of achieving because of their birth powers. You know, one person has a power of wisdom about A, and the other one has some other abilities. We are all special. But the moment we start to look for what do I get, what do I receive only, without starting with how can I share what I've got, what I'm receiving, what I'm getting, what is my value. So that took Korach into a very dangerous place. The result was he died with all his people. So what happened? Let us see. So Moses is saying, oh, you want to be priests? You want to have a competition once a year or something like this? Who can be the high priest? And how do you want to do it? Okay, you want to bring the offering of the incense to the temple. Just a second. Only a year earlier, the two sons of Aaron, not somebody else, not a foreigner, the two sons of Aaron, they were destined to work in the temple. The two sons of Aaron brought, in the day of the dedication of the temple, they brought the offering of the incense to the temple, to the tabernacle, and they were burnt, both of them. Why, you don't remember that? That was just not long ago, like a few months ago. It was just, how do you do something like this? You don't know what's the result. Because it says, verse 6, Zot asu lachem, you should do that. Each one of you should take trays for the incense offering and put over them the incense and show yourself in front of God, and the one that God is going to choose, he is the one. Isn't that fair? So what was the result? All of these people that came to bring the offering of the incense, they were burned like the two sons of Aaron. Okay, we see that in verse okay. Chapter 17, verse 1. We realize over here that happened. Yes. Ve'esh yatsa me'et Hashem. That's chapter 16, verse 35. Ve'esh yatsa me'et Adonai v'tochal et ha-50 200 ish. And fire came from in front of God the Creator, and she consumed the 250 people that brought the offering of the incense. Like everybody knew, because that happened in front of their eyes a few months earlier. Okay, what happened with Koraḥ? With Koraḥ, something else happened. And Moses says that if they die, Koraḥ and his people, they die like normal people, he's not right. But if they die because the earth opens its mouth, I didn't know the earth has a mouth, the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up, then we know that Moses is right and they are wrong. And that's exactly what happened. And the Zohar is explaining why is that, how it looks like Moses cursed them. This is nice. He's the man of God. He should not be intimidated. They made a mistake. Should not be intimidated. But you have to understand, the Zohar says, there was, when the creation was formed, on the sixth day, there's a legend, just before the end of the sixth day, just before Shabbat was created, there were few things that were created that they have the property of left column without any correction, any control. One of them is called the mouth of the earth. The moment Koraḥ, with all his might, with all his power, with all his wisdom and richness and status, the moment he did something so horrible, he basically got people to doubt Moses and Aaron and God's decisions. Why did they do that? Because Koraḥ did not want just to say, I should be the president of the tribe of Levi. He created a whole system of followers that those leaders were all of them against Moses, and all of them lost it. All of them simply did not see the message on the wall. It was so clear. They saw it just a few months earlier with the instance of the sons of Aaron. Koraḥ, he probably knew more than all of us together. He didn't know that when he creates that intention, and let us read that, because the Zohar explains it amazingly. Verse 3 in Perusha Sulam in the Zohar. Tachazeh, come and see. Aaron yemina, Levi smola. Aaron and the Kohanim are the right column. Levi smola, the Levites, that's the left column. Koraḥ ba'e lemebat chilufat yemina lismola. Koraḥ wanted to exchange the right column with the left column. So the left column leads first. Begin kach itanash. Therefore, he was punished. Velo de'ela dishtekach belishana bisha. More than that, in order to gather all of these people, he badmouthed Moses and Aaron. Otherwise, he won't be able to create such a great following. So you understand that the worst thing you can do is basically when you have a system of government and you start to create a doubt of the system and you start to destroy the system, you are creating chaos. Because as our sages are saying in the Talmud, if not the fear of the government, every person will swallow up his neighbor alive. Just because we are all afraid of the law, that's why we keep the law and we have a functional society. But the moment people do not respect the law, and what if you don't think the law is right? Okay, so there are systems. You create, today it's very easy. You create a following, you create a philosophy, you preach for that philosophy, you go to elections, you're being elected, and then you bring it up if you have enough following and enough support. But if you don't, you cannot just, by all means, destroy everything, the whole system, although let's say we look at the governments in many countries and we don't really trust them. Okay? Does that mean that we have to create an anarchy and send them all home? No. It's anarchy. Let's see, in the Middle East, there was the Arab Spring. That's how they called it in the more than 10 years ago. Okay, what happened? What was the result? People overthrown the dictators. Even it started with overthrowing Saddam. So Saddam was vicious, he was horrible. But the bloodshed that happened since in Iraq was of millions of people. Same thing in Syria, same thing in Tunisia. Okay, in Egypt was almost the same thing happening till the army took over. We have to remember that you have to change the system from within. And if you are coming from the point to give and to enrich, and people feel that from you, you will be successful, you'll be blessed, and you'll be able to create a better society. Because if we look at the evolution of societies in the last few centuries, basically that became just better. Oh, we don't live in a perfect society. Far from that. But, give it time. We need a few more centuries till we create a perfect world. But we have to remember, destroying everything by creating anarchy, by creating hatred, what it is basic, first of all, it's going against you. How do you know? So, verse 4. Koraḥ, how did he get to the idea? And of course, he had a logical explanation why the Levites, left column, should be first. Yes, in the end of days, when Mashiach is coming, finally we correct our desire to receive. We can receive all what the Creator wants to share with us, not before that. Okay? So he was right in a way, but he misled first of all himself. We know very well how to do that. So we continue, verse 4 in the Zohar. Vaikach Koraḥ. What does it mean? What did he take? And the Zohar says he took a bad advice for himself. And what did he say? כל הרודף אחר שאינו שלו הוא בורח מפניו, ולא יודע למה שיש לו נאבד ממנו. Whoever is trying to achieve, to gain, to capture what does not belong to him, that will run away from him. And more than that, what that person has will be lost. Not just that you don't gain what is not yours, you're going to lose what you had already. Koraḥ became a terrible word in history as for a greedy, hateful, obsessive person with power. 33 centuries later, he made himself a terrible name. Okay? He lost his status, he lost his money, he died, he didn't take it with him. Koraḥ רדף אחר שאינו שלו. Koraḥ chased after what does not belong to him. שלא עבד, he lost what belongs to him. ואחר לא הרוויח, and he did not gain the other, what belongs to somebody else. And just that to remember, whatever belongs to us is ours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. If we are just going to stay with real great faith of doing our best and always trying to go with the right foot, always trying with how do we bring value, we are going to find ourselves gaining so much. But the moment we allow the poison of jealousy and hatred and anger to sip in our souls, that's the end of the game. This poison is so fatalistic, that it's so deadly that it's almost impossible to get out of it. Koraḥ did not get out of it. Verse 5. Koraḥ הלך במחלוקת. Koraḥ created dispute. מהו מחלוקת? הרחקה ודיחוי. Dispute, what is it? It's being far away. Far away and rejection from what? From the tree of life. הרחקה ודיחוי שלמעלה ולמטה. It's a rejection from the tree of life, above and below. Which means, what does it mean above and below? In the spiritual world, in the physical world. The tree of life will be manifest in the physical world. If somebody is really working on resisting one's negativity, hatred, jealousy, and always thinking about how do I start with the right foot? How do I overpower the giving and the loving over the anger and the passion for ourselves and selfishness? If we just work on that, and that's our life mission, if we don't do that, we basically, says the Zohar, מי שרוצה לדחות תיקון העולם יהיה נאבד מכל העולמות. Whoever wants to delay the correction, the process of perfecting of this world, how? The worst thing is creating dispute, hatred, no matter what's the base ground. There's no excuse for hatred, because the hatred kills the hater. Simply kills him. Physically, mentally, as we said with Koraḥ, the person had all of it. He lost so much. And he didn't get what he wanted. He simply wanted what doesn't belong to him. Why? It looks more sparkly than what he has. And it's not that he had nothing. And the moment somebody wants to delay the correction and the perfection of the world, he will be lost from all the worlds above and below. מחלוקת היא הרחקה ודיחוי של השלום. Dispute is separation and rejection of shalom, Shalom, that's the tree of life. Shalom, that's completion. That's peace that is coming out of harmony, of people completing each other, not disputing each other, not competing with each other, but completing each other. If you start with that purpose, what is the value I can bring to somebody else, and together we can get more value? That is the meaning of the word shalom. Koraḥ went against that, against this concept. ומי שחולק על שלום, חולק על שמו הקדוש. Whoever disputes shalom, disputes his holy name. משום ששמו הקדוש נקרא שלום, because shalom is the holy name of God. בואו ראה, verse 6, come and see. אין העולם עומד אלא על שלום. The world can exist only on the pillar, the foundation of shalom. כשברא הקדוש ברוך הוא את העולם, when God created the universe, לא יכול לקיים, the world could not exist. Till the sixth day, the world was shaky, could not really continue existing. עד שבא וישרה עליהם שלום, till the Creator dwelled, brought down shalom to the world. What is that? Shabbat. Shabbat is the spirit of shalom. The spirit, that's why we say to each other Shabbat Shalom on Shabbat. Why? Because Shabbat is the spirit of Shalom, the spirit of completion. And we are not busy on Shabbat to find what has to be fixed. We just look at the big picture. And when we create that harmony, we can balance ourselves so we can jump into the chaos of the weekdays and be somehow immune to all the craziness of the separation and the confusion that's what we experience during the weekdays. All what we need is just to look for the shalom every day, every moment, everywhere we're going to. Because Shabbat is shalom of the above and below worlds. And then the world could survive, could exist. ועל כן מי שחולק על השלום יאבד מן העולם. Therefore, whoever disputes shalom will be lost sooner or later. People, societies, movements, countries, civilizations, when it is based on hatred and dispute, that's a self-destructing process. You don't have to fight them. You just have to let them destroy their lives. Okay, so this is basically a message for Parashat Koraḥ. It's so powerful, it's so important. We have to remember that it doesn't matter how much our desires include. It's normal. It is legal. But if you're going to start with the left foot, we are going to start with how much do we want to gain and to achieve, and we're not starting with how much we want to give and to share, without forgetting and suppressing the receiving. That's why it's called the wisdom of Kabbalah. Kabbalah means to receive. We're here to learn how to receive. We were created to receive. However, you want to connect to the tree of life, you need to study how to overcome selfishness, negativity, hatred, all of those attributes basically that separate us from the real good. Thank you so much. Shavua Tov.